It's 50 years. And what that song has done is so correct to imagine that 50 years later, it's raised millions, and I mean millions of dollars on behalf of not only American veterans, but Canadian as well. And it's also served as a song to welcome home people who have been kidnapped in this world. It's an amazing song. I wish I'd written it. I was only the mailman that delivered the letter. L. Russell Brown and Erwin Levine wrote it. They had no idea. I had no idea how much of a healing that would be for people, and therefore a tremendous healing for me as well, because I hope I have a servant's heart, and I think performers have to think that way. They have to think as though they're God gave them this blessing to be able to make people forget their problems or smile or hold someone's hand because a song remembered that that's when they met or anything like that. That's what makes us tick. And to think that that song, a song, any song, can raise millions of dollars to make people's lives better, man, I tell you, to be associated with that has been an honor. Doo-wop was a big deal. It's just like Paul Simon said, it all starts with doo-wop. And if you really examine it, yes, even Elvis was listening to doo-wop. If you listen to Elvis's early songs, there was a lot, like Crying in the Chapel, for instance, was recorded by a group called the Orioles. If you listen to the old doo-wop version of it, it's almost exact for Elvis. So the king of rock and roll was listening to doo-wop, and Paul is right. It is the beginning. It's the note that starts the song from doo-wop to where we are now. From doo-wop to hip-hop, if you will. I started working with CBS music publishing companies. They're called April Blackwood Music. And it was, at that time, I was hired by Clive Davis, the Clive Davis. And he gave me a chance because the English invasion came. I had Halfway to Paradise that was a hit, and Bless You that was a hit. But the truth of the matter was that I wasn't working, and I had to find a way to support I was married young. I needed to support my family. So he gave me a chance to work as a music publisher. And it was amazing that I got that opportunity at 23 and worked my way up to vice president of CBS Music because of Clive Davis, because of his vision, and because of his support. I had a chance to sign Barry Manilow, produce his first records. I had a chance to work with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, a great Canadian group, and their music, and James Taylor representing his music. So it was an amazing blessing that I got by working with Clive and learning what goes on behind the desk, behind the music, so to speak. And so it was a great opportunity for me for 4 years between 1966 and 1970 is when I started really having a big run with Clive, and who knew? I then backed into an accident, the Candida, and the rest is history. One of the tokens, his name is Hank Medris, and Hank Medris was a wonderful record producer, but also a member of that group. In my job position, I could often get deals made for songwriters and people. He came to me and said, "Would you consider helping me sell this master? I need $3,000 to pay my rent and bills." Now, $3,000 was a lot of money in 1970s, and so I said, "Well, let me hear the record." The record was Candida, just as the one that you heard Tony Orlando and Dawn do. So I suggested that I would take it to a record company called Bell Records, which really were a singles oriented. They weren't into albums, mostly Partridge Family, Fifth Dimension, not the heavy metal bands, and it was a perfect match. So I went to that company and they turned the record down. They said, "We'll give you the 3,000 if you don't use the lead singer that's on the record. We love the arrangement, we love the song, but we don't think that voice is right for the song." So I go back and I tell Hank Medris, "If you get somebody to sing this song, you'll get your 3,000. He says, "You do it." I said, "Me?" He said, "Yeah, you, because you did all the demos for Carole King, Up on the Roof, all those Drifter songs back when you were a young kid, right?" "Yep." "Well, this is very similar to that kind of music, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Please, Tony, I'm broke. I need the money. And I know that if you put your vocal on it, I'll get that money. I said, I'll tell you what, we'll go in the studio tonight. Don't name it Tony Orlando. I don't want to lose my job. You can name the group Joe Schmo and the Nail Biters for all I care, but don't name it my name. And I go in the studio, and that's when I recorded that song, one line at a time. So let's assume you're my producer, you're Hank, okay? And I say to you, hey, Hank, what's the first line? And Hank responds, stars won't come out if they know that you're about. Okay, stop the tape. Start from the beginning. You hear the instrumental, dee da 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 da, dee da da, and there I go. Stars won't come out if they know that you're about. Stop tape. What's the next line? And I did the whole song, one line at a time. Okay, and made the hour. He sells the song. He sells it, calls the group Dawn. Why did he call it Dawn? Because the president of the record company who was in charge of promotion, his daughter's name was Dawn, figured he'd get a good light on his record. The record comes out as Dawn. I forget I recorded it. 3 months later, it's #1. And there we are. And I don't tell anybody it's me because I don't want to lose my job. All right. I'm moonlighting, basically. I had no deal. I got paid nothing for it. As a matter of fact, to this day, I was only paid a penny a record. A penny a record. That was it. For a record that sold 3 million records. Okay. Then he comes to me to the follow-up and he says to me, Tony, let's do Knock 3 times. I said, that's the worst title I ever heard in my life. People don't knock on the pipes anymore. That only exists in Brooklyn. You'll have a hit in Brooklyn. That's where it'll end up. Well, I cut it. 4 million records. At that point, I think it was time for me to say, maybe I should become this group called Dawn. And that's what I did. I left my job. Clive was kind enough to say, I know you're chasing your dream since you're a kid. If it doesn't happen, you can always come back to work for me. And the rest is history. I walked in, I said, Clive, I really want to thank you for this opportunity representing James Taylor's music and Blood, Sweat, and Tears and all these great acts. And Barry Manilow, now we got him signed to Bell Records. And I really appreciate it. And he said, I know why you're leaving. I said, you do? He goes, yeah. He says, you're Dawn. I said, you've always known? He goes, Tony, this is the worst kept secret in show business. He said, he said, listen, here's what you got to do. Are you cutting an album? I said, yes. Well, then you owe me at least 6 sides in this so-called group Dawn album as a favor to me. So that's what made Clive a great businessman. We did indeed make that album. If you look at that album, you see that many of the songs in there, like In My Mind, I'm Going to Carolina, that James Taylor wrote, that was because I was owing it to Clive. We recorded Knock 3 times, and it finally came up to Yellow Ribbon. If you look at the label, it says Dawn, and then in small letters it says featuring Tony Orlando. And that was because Diana Ross had Supremes featuring Diana Ross. She was the one who said, start progressively change it to featuring as I did, which is what started putting my name in the title. But we didn't become Tony Orlando and Dawn until the television show. It was Fred Silverman of CBS Television who named us Tony Orlando and Dawn. He named the series that. And that's when that name was born. For all intents and purposes, variety television was dead. All 3 networks felt it was over. Sonny and Cher had left the air. There was no more, only Carol Burnett was left standing. And most of the networks wanted to go away from variety television, except for this guy, Fred Silverman, who was the president of CBS. And he said, I'm going to try something. I'm going to give the Hudson brothers the month of June. I'm going to give Bobby Gentry the month of July. I'm going to give this group Tony Orlando and Dawn the month of August. Whichever of the 3 come up with the biggest ratings in the summertime, I'm going to put them on and test that variety television is still alive. In January, we won the numbers. We went on in January, and we never left. We were on for 4 years. And basically, it was Freddie again, there's always one guy with vision, Don. There's always somebody. There's either a Clive Davis, there's a Fred Silverman, there's a Don Kirshner. There's always someone with a vision that nobody else has. If you happen to be directly in sight of that vision, you benefit from it. That was what happened to us. Jake on the Man came after the variety show. In fact, the first variety show that Freddie ever did was our show. And so we came on before that series came on. Freddie, I saw on the Merv Griffin show, I think it was, or the Mike Douglas show. And I was so impressed with him. I called when I said, hey, this is Tony. Tony Orlando? Tony Orlando, a dog show? I love that show. Man, oh, looking good. You know, on the phone giving me all that. I said, Freddie, would you come on and be my guest? He said, I've never done a variety show. I said, well, great, come on. So when he came on the show, this look-alike thing started to happen because of the mustaches. Actually, Freddie Prinze was 6'3", you know, with flat shoes on. I was 6 feet with 3-inch heels, you know. But I'm 5'10". He's normally almost 6'3". He was a big boy. And because of the Hispanic background, he was a Hungarian, I was a Greek-Rican. I am a Greek-Rican, but he was a Hungarian. And if you put those two upbringings together, New York and a Puerto Rican family, there was a lot of synergy going on between us. It was symbiotic in our relationship, very much so. And he was 10 years younger, so he became a younger brother to me. So it was a wonderful combination of two artists. One's the singer, one's the comic. They never bumped heads because of that, and it only grew. That's my favorite room. I know it sounds like I'm just saying that because I'm with you, Don, but the truth of the matter is, if you ask most acts who've worked that room, I'm talking about not the new 5,000 seat room, which Billy Joel opened, but their normal showroom. It's the best sounding showroom. It may have the best crew, other than Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, of any casino venue I've ever worked, and I've worked them all. And every time I go back to what I look forward to is, oh my God, the sound in this room is incredible. Oh my God, look at the way they take care of you here. They are so giving, the people who work there. They care about, here's the most important thing, the people in the audience. They respect that it's about them, not about some guy who had hit records, but about the audience. That's what I love about that venue. That's why I'm looking forward to going back. And you know, next year, Don, will be my last year in show business. So anybody who comes to see the show this year may not see me again, because next year is I have commitments through 2024 that I have to fulfill. But I'm done. After 64 years, I'm done on the road. No more performing on the road. I'm going to do most of mine, and I'm making this announcement with you. And I'm just not going to continue on. So all I can say is thank you for all the years you've stuck by me. And believe me when I tell you, they go deep to my heart. That means a lot to me. You know, you've seen a lot of performers in your life, but you'll never meet up with one who appreciates you more than I do.